Have over here Terumos, Gimel Bet.
That's right.
If one of them fell into Chulin, it does not render it Meduma. If the second one fell into another place, it does not render it Meduma. If both fell into the same place, they render it Meduma according to the smaller of the two.
Right. So this is in the case where we've got the two portions of truma where we have suffix which one is the real truma. So each one independently does not, because we can say that each one is not the real truma. So it will use the sheer betel midoraisa of rov. But if they both fall into the same place, then we take the smaller of the two, and we say that that's the shear for meduma.
Okay. If um, if partners separated truma one after the other, Rebbe Kiva says the truma of both of them is truma, but the Chachamim say the truma of the first is truma. Rebbe Yossi says that the first gave the prescribed amount, the truma of the second is not truma, but if the first did not give the prescribed amount, the truma of the second is truma. Thank you. Okay. When does this apply? If he did not speak. But if he gave permission to a member of his family or to his bondsman or a bondswoman to separate truma, his truma is truma. If he annulled it before he separated the truma, his truma is not truma. But if he annulled it after he had separated the truma, his truma is truma. Laborers have no authority to separate truma except the treaders, since they render the winepress unclean immediately.
Okay, in the case of the traders is a case where the owner of the wine press is an amaretz, and the traders themselves are chaverim, and so it's considered aldas the baalim, because the baalim want the truma to be taken betara. And this could be a reason why Dafka employed Chaverim to do his wine press for him, because then it would be under their hashgacha that this is going to be good truma, and the wines are going to be pressed to Tara.
Okay.
Okay, Mishnah Hey, Haomer Chumas Hakri Zebesocha. So somebody, I don't know why anyone would do this, but we're talking in a hypothetical case. Normally, what you do if you want to take truma out of some produce is you separate it to the side and say, okay, this is the truma,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the maser, and this is the trumas maser, and the mas and the and whereas you're actually physically separating. Now here you've got some bozo who's just making a verbal declaration without actually doing a physical separation.
He says the
Okay,
truma
truma, huh?
he says the truma within this whole heap. There's truma
Right.
in it.
So he says, okay, the truma of this heap is inside it. So he's verbally designated truma. Umasr sabasocha, and also it's maser. That's a maser rishon is inside it. Trumas maser zebasocha, and the trumas maser is inside it. Okay, so now he hasn't actually done any active physical separation. All he's done is he's declared that the trumas and masers are somewhere inside this pile. Okay, and Rabbi Shimon Omer Karashem says, okay, so remember here's Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon likes kavana. This is kavana. You had kavana to take it. It's done.
That's it.
Okay. Chachamim omrim ad sheyomar b'tzfono or b'dromo. He said no, it doesn't work unless he designated a location. Even if he didn't physically separate it out, at least he should say the truma is in the south. So now, if he wants to separate it out, we know exactly where the truma is. It's in the south of it, or okay, or b'tzfono or b'dromo. Rabbi Elazar Chisma omer haomer truma sakri mimenu alav karashem. Now takes another case. If he uses a different phrasing over here, chumas hakri mimenu alav. The truma of the kri is from it on it. Even if he didn't say besocho, okay, even if he didn't say it's betocho, it's accepted as that was his intention. Says Rabbi Elazar Chisma, and it is effectively declared. Of course, the problem that you have with both Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Elazar Chisma is that if you haven't designated the place where the truma is, then immediately you've got one big pile of maduma,
Uh-huh. Okay.
right? Because now you've got truma mixed in with chulin, you don't know where the truma is, how to take it out. You've called it, and it's now the whole thing is now maduma. Bad
So I
luck.
couldn't understand why he would just say this pile is within it. What is that going to do for you? I don't understand how that would work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer Isur Maaser Ze Asoi Trumas Maaser Alav Karashem. Similarly, if he makes the statement, sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Uh, okay. So he says, Isur Maaser is there. The 10th of the Maaser over here is made the 10th of the Trumas Maaser that is going to be made Trumas Maaser. That's the 10th of the Maaser Rishon is going to be made Trumas Maaser Alav. Also, he says this is called Karashem and it is effectively declared. But once again, you just have a big problem with where this where it is if you haven't actually designated exactly which part of the pile it is in. So the halacha follows the chachamim. I do not think that we got that. Does he say anything about Rabbi Elazar Chisma and? No, I don't see him paskening halacha like it, right? Okay. But mistama the halacha follows chachamim and not any of the other Tanai mentioned over here. Okay. Mishna Vav ha makdim truma lebikurim. If somebody declares his truma before he's declared bikurim, or maaser rishon a truma, or he declares his maaser rishon before he separated his truma, or maaser sheni l'rishon, or if he separates maaser sheni before he separated maaser rishon, afal pi shehu over below taseh, he is transgressed a negative commandment, but nonetheless mashe asa soy, it is nonetheless effective. So how do you know that it's a transgression of a negative commandment? You may not delay the basically is a reference to truma, which truma must not be delayed. You can't take the other masters before it. Okay, so we have this. So even if we go out of order, so Minatorah, you have to go in a certain order. There's a negative commandment to not to separate the other things out of order. But nonetheless, if he does it, it's done, and there's nothing to do about it. Okay. Uminayin says the Mishnah Vav. Uminayin sheyikdima bikurim letruma. So how do you know that bikurim has to precede truma? Zekarei truma b'reishis, zekarei truma b'reishis. So they're described in the same words. So why should this one have a why should one precede the other? Why must bikurim come first? Because they are by definition the first thing. They are the first thing, and furthermore, they are. The Mishnah doesn't say it explicitly, but Kati points out that that bikurim are declared while they're still attached to the ground. You go up to the tree, you tie a thread around the fruit as it's starting to form, and say Harei Eile Bikurim. Okay, so there's no. So there's just logically, it's not possible to if you failed to declare bikurim while it was attached, you can still declare bikurim afterwards. But it just makes sense, since you can declare bikurim before while it's still attached to the ground, it must come before truma.
So he's giving this bikurim to the priest. Trumas and Maizus has not been taken from it. It's just bikurim first, or what did we say before? In other words,
I didn't understand your question.
So neither do I. So. No, he's giving bikurim to the priest, but he doesn't have to. Who takes the trumas and ma'asos here? It should be taken before it goes to the priest. Am I correct?
No. Bikurim is exempt from trumas and ma'asos. It's entirely a gift to the priest. Gift. So you don't need to take trumas and ma'asos off bikurim.
So you say if it's a gift, but someone has to take trumas and ma'asos, don't they?
No. It's like Hefker. Hefker also doesn't have trumas and ma'asos. Hekdesh also doesn't have trumas and ma'asos taken off it. Bikurim also. There's no trumas and ma'asos of
Bikurim. Hefker has no trumas and ma'asos, so that means if someone comes to my garden and wants to take lemons or whatever they want to take, they don't have to take trumas and ma'asos from it.
Wait, in which case is that?
But you were saying that it's also Hefker doesn't have trumas and ma'asos. You said
Hefker. If it's Hefker, correct. Right. Hefker, there's no trumas and ma'asos. So if you declare everything on your tree to be Hefker, so that you're happy for anyone to come and take your lemons, then they don't have to take trumas and ma'asos, correct. We actually have a neighbor over here who's got a grapevine that drapes over the parking lot to Avat Zion, and he has no interest in the grapes, and he's mafkir the grapes. He said anyone who wants them, come and take them. They're Hefker.
Is that the Shoas?
No, Galata.
That's 2 away from you, isn't it?
No, they're on the back fence. They're on Timnah.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
Yeah. So we don't have to take trumas and ma'asos off those grapes. And the same thing goes for bikurim. Remember, bikurim also get taken to the Beit HaMikdash, and there's a whole fanfare about that story. But okay, so having having established that Bikurim comes before Truma, now let's talk about why does Truma come before Maaser Rishon? She Rashis. The Truma is described as Rashis in the pasuk, which Maaser Rishon is not. Okay, so now why does Maaser Rishon come before Maaser Sheni? Remember, Maaser Rishon and Maaser Sheni are not described in the words Rishon and Sheni in the Torah. So it's a reasonable question to say, okay, so how do you know that Maaser Rishon comes before Maaser Sheni? It's just described as Maaser to the Levi, and then from the Levi he takes Maaser min Maaser, which is Maaser min Maaser. That's called Trumas Maaser. Okay, so so the Torah doesn't use the terms Rishon and Sheni. So they say, how do you know that you have to take Maaser Rishon before you take Maaser Sheni? Okay, so it says Sheyesh Bo Reishis because in the Maaser Rishon there is such a thing as that you've also got Trumas Maaser in there, which is also called Reishis, right? Because it's part of the Truma, and Truma is called Reishis. So since the Maaser Rishon implicitly contains Trumas Maaser, so it has precedence over Maaser Sheni, which has nothing, which has no Truma in it. Mm-hmm. Right, Maaser Sheni is the stuff that you take up to Yerushalayim and eat over there. Okay, so therefore, because it contains that 1/10 of Truma in it, therefore Maaser Rishon comes before Maaser Sheni, and that's why it's called Maaser Rishon, and the second one is called Maaser Sheni. Okay, let's go back. Shvius Yud Vav.
Okay. A prose bell may only be written for land. If he has none, he gives him title to his part, however small, of his own field. If he has land held in pledge in the city, a prose bill may be written for it. Reb Chutzpit says one may write for a man concerning his wife's property and for orphans concerning the guardian's property. A beehive, Reb Eliezer says, it is regarded as landed property, and a prose bill may be written on it, and it is not susceptible to uncleanliness while in its place. And he who takes honey from it on the Shabbos is liable. The comments say it is not regarded as landed property, and prose bill not be written on it, and is susceptible to cleanliness while in its place, and he who takes honey from it on Shabbos is liable. If one repays his debt in the seventh year, he must say to him, I remit it. And if he said to him, even so.
Right, the last sentence you read incorrectly. The Chachamim said that if somebody removes honey from it on Shabbos, he's patur.
What did I say?
You said he's liable.
He's not liable.
He's not liable, yeah.
Sorry. I skipped the important words. If one repays his debts in the seventh year, he must say to him, I remit it. If he said to him, even so, he may accept it from him, since it is written, and this is the word of the release.
It just has to give one word. He says, I remit it. And he says, no, it's fine. It's I want to pay you. So then you can accept it. As long as he's given one time, he said, one time he's declined and said, I'm shomet. Okay.
And this is the word of the release. Similarly, if a murderer went into exile to a city of refuge, and the people of the city wanted to render honor to him, he must say to them, I am a murderer. And if he said, even so, he may accept, since it is written, and this is the word of the slayer.
Okay.
Whoever repays a debt.
That's it. That's it. We've done We'll leave that siyum for tomorrow. Okay. Kilayim.
Yes. That's the end of this.
Yeah, and then we move on to what's the name? What we're doing in the front? Terumos. Yeah.
We go back to Terumos?
Yeah. Then we move on to Terumos again. Yeah. Okay.
You'll keep doing this until I learn it. Okay.
That's the idea. Kesvav, yeah.
Tailors may sew in the usual fashion, provided they do not react to the sun or in the rain, but the scrupulous sew on the ground. Bursin, Bardisin, Dalmatikin, and felt shoes may not be worn until they have been examined. And Rabbi Yossi says those of which come from clothes from overseas need not be examined, since the presumption is that they are made of hemp. Wool-lined shoes do not come under the prohibition of Kalayim. Only spun and woven goods come under the prohibition of Kalayim, for it is written, you shall not wear shatnez for that which is shua, tua, and nuz. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says nalos, and he is a strange umlez, and estranges his Father in heaven against him.
So these are word. Josh is on the word of shatnez. What does it? What does it mean? How does it apply? It applies to cloth that has been spun and woven and all that. Okay. Next up, Oktin.
All peels contract tumor and convey tumor and combine. They combine like wild rosemary, hyssop, and savory. Regarding a pomegranate, watermelon, a portion of which is rotten, that portion does not combine. If the fruit is complete on either side and rotten in the middle, it does not combine. The pitum of a pomegranate combines, but it is nets. A bone on which there is meat, that which is opposite the food combines. If meat was on one side of the bone, bread Mishael says.
I think you went backwards. I just lost the place there.
Did I go back? I did go backwards. Yes.
Yeah. Go again with Dalit.
All right. All peels combined contract tumor and convey tumor and combine. Rabbi Yehuda says there are three peels on an onion. The innermost, which is whole or perforated, combine. The middle peel, if it is whole, it combines, but if it is perforated, it does not combine. And the outermost peel is either case, is tahor. Regarding one who cuts a food in order to cook it, even though he did not complete the cut, is not a connection. But if he cut it in order to preserve it, to overcook it, or to place it on the table, it's considered a connection. If he began to separate the sections, the food with which he began to separate is not considered a connection. And regarding walnuts that one braided together, or onions that are bunched together, these are connection. If he began to take them apart in the case of walnuts or to peel them in the case of onions, it is not a connection. And the shells of walnuts and almonds are a connection until one crushes them. Okay. How do you braid walnuts?
One more.
The shell of a slightly roasted egg is a connection until one cuts it, but the shell of an overcooked egg is a connection until he crushes it. A bone that has marrow in it is a connection until one crushes it, and the peel of a pomegranate that one separated is a connection until he beats it with a stick. Similarly, the bastings of launderers and garments that are sewn with kalayim is a connection until he begins to undo it. Hey.
Olos Gimel Hey.
What qualifies as death blood? An eighth of a log of blood flowed out of a dying person while he is still alive, and an eighth flowed out after he died. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Ishmael says a quarter log of blood that flowed out while the person was alive and a quarter log that flowed out after his death were combined, and from this mixture a quarter log was taken. Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Huda, says both of these are like water. What is death blood? When there is a hanged person whose blood was flowing out and a quarter log of blood was found beneath him, the blood is tameh. But if the corpse's blood was dripping and a quarter log of blood was found underneath it, the blood is tahor. Rabbi Yehuda says not so. Rather, that which flows out is tahor, and that which drips is tameh. Olive-sized piece of corpse in a room must have an opening of one handbreadth, and a whole corpse must have an opening of 4 handbreadths to prevent tumor from spreading to the other openings. But to allow tumor to spread, 1 square handbreadth suffices. If it is larger than the volume of a olive, it is treated as a whole corpse. And Rabbi Yossi says a spinal column and a skull are treated like a whole corpse. A cavity of 1 breadth of 1 handbreadth by 1 handbreadth, where that it is 1 handbreadth high, conveys tumor and acts as a barrier against tumor. How so? In the case of a sewer beneath a house, that contains a cubic handbreadth and has an outlet of a square handbreadth. If there is a tumor inside the sewer, the house remains tahor. If there is tumor in the house, whatever is inside the sewer remains tahor because it is the way of the tumor to exit, but it is not the way to enter. In the case the sewer contains a cubic handbreadth and its outlet is smaller than a square handbreadth, if there is tumor inside the sewer, the house becomes tameh, and if there is tumor in the house, whatever is inside the sewer remains tahor, because it is the way of tumor to exit, but not the way of tumor to enter. In the case where the sewer is smaller than a cubic handbreadth and its outlet is smaller than a square handbreadth, if there is tumor inside the sewer, the house becomes tameh. If there is tumor in the house, whatever is inside the sewer becomes tameh. This law is true whether the hole was hollowed out by water, by small animals, or by erosion, and is also true if formed by a pile of boulders or a stack of beams. Rabbi Yehuda says any roof that is not man-made is not considered an ohel. However, he agrees with respect to crags and projecting rock formations that they're considered a ohel.
Okay. Adios.
Okay. Beit Zion. There are three things that the disciples stated before Rabbi Akiva. Two of the things they said in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, and one of them they said in the name of Rabbi Yeshua. The two things they said in the name of Rabbi Eliezer were, a woman may go out with a city of gold on Shabbos. Rabbi Eliezer, I'm sorry,
Mafricha yeah.
and pigeon flyers are unfit for testimony. And the one thing that's said to Rabbi Akiva in the name of Rabbi Shua was, if a sheretz was in the mouth of a weasel and the weasel was walking over some loaves of truma, so that there is a doubt whether the sheretz touched the truma or did not touch it, the doubt is ruled tahor.
Right, remember, we had the Tuma Ma'aleches, is that when there's a suffix of the Tuma Ma'aleches, the suffix is tahor.
Rabbi Akiva stated three things concerning two of the sages agreed with him. That's wrong. Rabbi Akiva stated three things. Concerning two, the sages agreed with him, and concerning one, they did not agree with him. Concerning a lime worker's sandal, the sages agreed that it is susceptible to the tumah of midras. And the sages also agreed with Rabbi Akiva concerning the remnants of an oven, that they must be at least 4 tefachim in size. For the sages used to say that 3 tefachim was sufficient, and they conceded to Rabbi Akiva. And concerning one that did not agree with him, namely concerning a chair from which two of its seat slats were removed, one next to the other, Rabbi Akiva declares susceptible to tumah contamination, but the sages declare it not susceptible to tumah contamination. He used to say, a father merits a son with beauty, with physical strength, with material wealth, and wisdom in Torah, and with years. And regarding the number of generations that is before him, for that is the time set by him. As it is stated, he proclaimed the generations from the beginning. For although it is stated with regard to the redemption from Egypt, and they will serve them and they will oppress them 400 years, it is also stated, and the fourth generation shall return here. Okay. And they are returning.
Okay, Megillah, base Vav.
The entire night is valid for the reaping of the omer and the burning of sacrificial fats and limbs. This is the general rule. Any writ which was to be done by day may be performed throughout the day. Any writ which was to be done by night may be performed throughout the night. If the representation of a town's representatives of a town sell the town square, they must use the proceeds of the sale to purchase a synagogue. If they sell a synagogue, they must purchase an ark. If they sell an ark, they must purchase wrappings for the Torah scrolls. If they sell wrappings, they must purchase books of scripture. If they sell books of scripture, they must purchase a Torah scroll. However, if they sold a Torah scroll, they may not use the proceeds for purchase books of scripture. If they sold books of scripture, they may not purchase wrappings for the Torah scrolls. If they sold wrappings, they may not purchase an ark. If they sold an ark, they may not purchase a synagogue. If they sold a synagogue, they may not purchase a square. Moreover, the same is true of any leftover proceeds. Communal property may not be sold to an individual, for this would lessen the sanctity of the article. This is the opinion of Rebbe Yehuda. And they said to him, if so, they may not even sell the synagogue of a large town to the residents of a small town. I just want to see one thing.
This over here is the principle of Malin B'Kedusha Ve'en Moridin.
Yeah, I was just looking at something. I know. I was thinking of something else, but I know that the first thing that's supposed to be built in a town, a new town or whatever, is a mikvah.
Yes,
Not the synagogue.
but they don't have the mikveh in there. That's right.
They may not sell a synagogue except on the condition that if they wish, they may repurchase it. This is the opinion of Reb Meir. The Kakaman, however, say, however, that they may sell it permanently and for any purpose except for the following 4 uses: as a bathhouse, a tannery, a mikveh, or a water closet. Reb Yehuda says they may sell it as a courtyard, and the purchaser may do as he pleases. Reb Yehuda said further, in a synagogue that has been destroyed, one may not offer eulogies therein, twist ropes therein.
You've gone one Mishnah too far here. Okay,
That was
that's us for the day.
That was Gimel. Oh, I didn't. We finished. All right, I went.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a great day. I got you out
You
of
too.
time. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.